every political ideology explained. Liberalism. Liberalism is one of the most widely recognized political ideologies, rooted in the values of liberty and equality. Originating in the Enlightenment era, liberalism emerged as a response to the rigid class structures and absolute monarchies of the time. Thinkers like John Locke and Montesquieu championed the idea that individuals have natural rights, life, liberty, and property that the government must protect. In practice, liberalism supports a democratic system where people have the freedom to express their opinions, practice their religion, and pursue their own happiness, as long as they don't infringe on the rights of others. Today, liberalism advocates for a government that ensures equal opportunities for everyone. This includes supporting social programs like healthcare, education, and welfare to help those who are disadvantaged. Liberals believe in progress, arguing that society should constantly evolve to become more inclusive and fair. Modern examples of liberal policies include the promotion of civil rights, gender equality, and environmental protections. Countries like Canada and many in Western Europe often adopt liberal principles, balancing personal freedom with government support to create a fair society. Conservatism. Conservatism, in contrast to liberalism, values tradition, stability, and continuity. It's rooted in the belief that society should evolve gradually and that sudden changes can lead to chaos and disorder. Conservatives argue that long-standing institutions like family, religion, and national customs are the foundation of a stable society and should be preserved. This ideology often emerged as a reaction to the rapid social changes brought about by revolutions, particularly the French Revolution, which conservatives viewed as destructive. Conservatives typically favor a smaller government role in the economy, advocating for free market policies where businesses can operate with minimal regulation. However, they also believe in maintaining strong laws to preserve social order and moral values. This might include supporting traditional marriage, promoting national pride, and encouraging personal responsibility over government dependency. In countries like the United States, conservatism is often associated with the Republican Party, which emphasizes limited government, individual freedoms, and a strong national defense. Conservatism can vary widely depending on the country, but the core idea remains the same: protect what has worked in the past to ensure stability in the future. Socialism. Socialism is a political and economic ideology that seeks to create a more equal society by redistributing wealth and resources. It emerged during the Industrial Revolution as a response to the harsh working conditions and vast inequalities that developed between the wealthy elite and the working class. Thinkers like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels criticized the capitalist system, arguing that it exploited workers for the benefit of a few. They proposed that the means of production, factories, land, and resources should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole, rather than by private individuals. In practice, socialism advocates for a system where everyone has access to basic needs like healthcare, education, and housing. This often means higher taxes on the wealthy and more government control over key industries like energy, transportation, and healthcare. Socialism seeks to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, aiming to create a society where everyone has the same opportunities. Many European countries, like Sweden and Denmark, have adopted social democratic policies that blend socialist ideas with capitalism, ensuring a safety net for all citizens while still allowing for private enterprise. While full socialism, as envisioned by Marx, hasn't been fully realized, its principles continue to influence political debates around the world, particularly on issues of income inequality and social justice. Communism. Communism takes the ideas of socialism to the extreme, aiming to create a classless, stateless society where all property is communally owned. Karl Marx, the most famous proponent of communism, believed that history was a series of class struggles, and that the capitalist system would eventually be overthrown by the working class, leading to a society where everyone would contribute according to their ability and receive according to their needs. In theory, this would eliminate poverty, inequality, and exploitation, creating a utopian society where everyone is truly equal. However, in practice, communist revolutions have often led to authoritarian regimes where the state has total control over the economy and society. The Soviet Union, under leaders like Lenin and Stalin, became the most prominent example of a communist state. While it made significant strides in industrialization and education, it also led to widespread repression, censorship, and the loss of individual freedoms. Other countries, like China and Cuba, have also implemented communist systems with varying degrees of state control and success. Despite its theoretical appeal, the reality of communism has often been far from the utopian ideal, leading to debates about its viability as a political and economic system. Fascism. Fascism is a far-right ideology that emerged in the early 20th century, characterized by extreme nationalism, authoritarianism, and the belief in the supremacy of the nation or race. Fascists believe in a strong, centralized government led by a dictatorial leader who has absolute power. This ideology rejects democracy and individual freedoms, arguing that the needs of the nation are more important than the rights of individuals. Fascism often promotes militarism and the use of violence to achieve its goals, glorifying the nation's past while suppressing dissent and opposition. Fascism rose to prominence in Europe between the world wars, most notably in Italy under Mussolini and in Germany under Hitler. These regimes used propaganda, censorship, and terror to maintain control, leading to devastating wars and human rights abuses. Fascism is often associated with racism and xenophobia, as it promotes the idea that certain groups are superior to others. While fascism as a political movement was largely defeated after World War II, its ideas have resurfaced in various forms, often linked to nationalist movements and authoritarian leaders. Libertarianism. Libertarianism is a political philosophy that emphasizes individual liberty, personal responsibility, and minimal government intervention. Libertarians believe that people should be free to live their lives as they choose, as long as they don't infringe on the rights of others. This means that the government's role should be limited to protecting individuals' rights to life, liberty, and property, and nothing more. Libertarians advocate for free markets, private property, and personal choice in all areas of life, from education to healthcare to lifestyle choices. In practice, libertarianism calls for reducing or eliminating many government programs, including welfare, public education, and regulation of businesses. Libertarians argue that people should be free to succeed or fail based on their own efforts, without interference from the state. This ideology is often associated with a strong belief in the power of the free market to allocate resources efficiently, and a skepticism of government power. In the United States, the Libertarian Party promotes these ideas, although libertarian principles can be found across the political spectrum, particularly in debates over issues like drug legalization, taxation, and personal freedoms. Anarchism. Anarchism is a political ideology that seeks to abolish all forms of hierarchical authority, including the state, capitalism, and even traditional social structures like family and religion. Anarchists believe that people are capable of organizing themselves without coercive institutions, and that true freedom can only be achieved in a stateless society. The word anarchy often brings to mind chaos and disorder, but for anarchists, it represents a society based on voluntary cooperation, mutual aid, and direct democracy. There are many different strands of anarchism, from anarcho-communism, which envisions a communal, stateless society, to anarcho-capitalism, which advocates for a completely free market without any government interference. While anarchism has rarely been implemented on a large scale, it has influenced various social movements, including the labor movement, environmental activism, and anti-globalization protests. Anarchists often use direct action, such as strikes, protests, and civil disobedience, to challenge authority and promote their vision of a free, egalitarian society. Environmentalism. Environmentalism is a political and social movement that seeks to protect the natural environment and promote sustainable living. Environmentalists argue that the health of the planet is essential to the survival of humanity, and that we must take immediate action to address environmental issues like climate change, deforestation, pollution, and the loss of biodiversity. This ideology is based on the belief that humans are part of the natural world and that we have a responsibility to protect and preserve it for future generations. Environmentalism has influenced many areas of public policy, from the establishment of national parks and wildlife reserves to the regulation of industries that pollute the air, water, and soil. Environmentalists often advocate for the transition to renewable energy sources such as wind and solar power, and the adoption of sustainable practices in agriculture, transportation, and industry. The environmental movement gained momentum in the 20th century, with events like Earth Day and international agreements like the Paris Climate Accord, reflecting the growing global awareness of environmental issues. While environmentalism is often associated with the political left, concern for the environment transcends political boundaries as it impacts all aspects of life on Earth. Nationalism. Nationalism is a political ideology that emphasizes the interests, culture, and identity of a particular nation or group of people. Nationalists believe that their nation is unique and superior to others, and they often advocate for policies that promote national unity, pride, and self-determination. Nationalism can take many forms, from civic nationalism, which is based on shared values and citizenship, to ethnic nationalism, which is based on a common ancestry, language, or culture. Populism. Populism is a political approach that seeks to appeal to the interests and concerns of the general population, often by contrasting the common people against a corrupt or out-of-touch elite. Populists argue that the political system is rigged in favor of the wealthy and powerful, and that only by empowering ordinary people can true democracy be achieved. Populism can be found on both the left and right of the political spectrum, and it often involves a charismatic leader who claims to represent the voice of the people.